Well, you've stumbled into the Binge-Watchers Podcast. If it's your first time here, we'll take it easy on you for all the noobs. And if you're a repeat customer, thank you for your business. Joined as always by Jordan Savage. She can review a movie. Well, I haven't seen it first, and she's going to drop some savage stats on tonight's movie. And I'm your boy, Johnny Spoiler, who only spoils the movies that he loves. Third person, I know I was trying to get that out without saying it in third person, but I couldn't do it. Brain fart, sorry.
Yeah,
oh well.
It's hard.
It's how it's gonna be, folks. Let's see. So yeah, without further ado, here's a little intro song. If you haven't heard it before, great. If you've heard it many, many times before, oh well, you can love it again.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers Podcast.
Whoa. First order of business, breaking news in the podcast world. Dangerous Dave's on a dangerous sabbatical. Won't go into details. He'll probably be back. Wish him all the love and support from your fellow co-hosts and hosts of the Binge-Watchers Podcast. I know your fans are thinking about you. I mean, truth be told, folks, he doesn't actually like anime. So if he sits out and takes a vacation during anime month, that's perfectly fine with me. Jordan's holding down the fort in the most savage way possible. The Scream Queen, she's emerged on this show, if you've been following along, through all kinds of stuff. Weird movies, holiday movies. What else we put her through? We put her through Fire and Ice from the 1980s. She always rubs us about putting her through Robot Jocks.
It's always Robot Jocks.
Yeah, exactly. It always goes back to that one. I'm about to send her the box set that includes Robot Jocks. She has no idea it's coming, but spoiler alert, it's on its way.
Bring it on.
Yeah. Then also, your boy's on his way to London, and that's not a joke. I got an email from Spotify. He said, come to London. I'm going to go represent our show over there at some thing. And, it's kind of unbelievable. I'm still, in shock. I'm like, so I have to get a passport? How do you do that? You know what I mean? I'm like, what's going on? Man. And then I'm like, again, we had a whole episode about travel anxiety. So I'm like, man, if I wear bright colors that are too bright, or if I'm, too American, want to get into a fight with some soccer hooligans or something at the pub. Who knows what's going to happen? It was a last minute thing, but I feel like it's something we got to do. It's like street credit. It's like clout. It's like, hey man, I don't know how many people are on this private invite list, but it's freaking London. Anyway, we're going. That's the podcast news for our show. What's going on in home video headlines? Let's see. There's a new Blair Witch movie coming out. Did you ever see Blair Witch? It kicked off found footage.
Did, yeah. I loved it too, just because I rewatched it maybe a couple years back and went camping almost immediately after too, and I'm like, oh, it's the pile of sticks.
Oh no, you're looking for little stick dolls in the woods. Am I going to cross the wrong pile of stones and encounter the Blair Witch?
Yeah, you just hear snapping and stuff, and it just definitely gives you the heebie-jeebies. And just
what about? Do you know they made a Blair Witch 2?
I did not know.
Yeah, so Blair Witch 2 is kind of it's not very good, but their whole gimmick was to play a videotape backwards to the secret of Estrover, and then guess what? It just literally spells the word reverse. So you're looking for a secret code throughout the whole movie, and then when you get done playing the game, it's just literally the word reverse, which you just done with your videotape. So whatever.
So
what a gimmick. Ooh, here's a juicy one. Carl Urban is rumored to be the next Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2, which isn't really Mortal Kombat 2, because in the continuity of the Mortal Kombat movies, there was the one made in the 90s, and then the one that came out with the same title, Mortal Kombat, is supposed to be a continuing of the same continuity, but with different actors. And then now there's a sequel to that, which they're calling Part 2, which is kind of the way they're naming all these sequels and prequels and whatever. How they do movies now is just it's too complicated.
Yeah, you got to just be along for the ride. But
Did you ever see that one though? The Mortal
I watched
Kombat one
the
from
first.
the 90s?
Yeah. Well, no, not from the 90s. I watched the most recent.
Oh,
one.
you watched the one on dropped on HBO. The brand new slick one with the CGI graphics, not the rotoscoping and the paper mache. Like,
we'll add the 90s one to the list. It's going up there. So.
Oh yeah. The one that actually had Asian martial artists playing Asian martial artists. You know what I mean? Culturally accurate performances, the new one. Although I will say Christopher Lambert is like Austrian, so yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it's weird, right? It's kitschy. It's got to be kitschy B movie, like to like an Austrian guy playing the God of Thunder from ancient Chinese mythology or something. You know what I mean? But anyway, I got a soft spot in my heart for the first one. I think it came out when I was in high school, and me and my friends went and saw it. Anyway, I mean, it was groundbreaking for the time. They had like a claymation guy with the 6 arms from the game, Goro, whatever his name is, and then like they had like early CGI throwing like the ice balls from Sub-Zero.
It sounds like something that I would
over here. The scorpion grab thing that he does, like get over here or finish him, fatality, all that crap. Yeah, I mean it's entertaining, right? And then, did you ever see this anime show called My Hero Academia, which is kind of like a parody of superheroes and superhero life? So, okay, so there's like a training school, right? And all their powers are kind of weird. Like the Superman guy is like the principal of the school, I think, or an ex-teacher, and he's like losing his powers, but that's like on the DL. And the main character has some kind of like atomic power thing, I think, that like hurts him. Like he gets wounded if he uses it, but it's really powerful, so he like has to like use it sparingly, right? Because of the consequence of using it. And like there's another guy, and all he does is like stick to things. Like his power is to be really sticky. Anyway, but it's kind of cool. I mean, it's a bunch of teenagers in a super school or whatever, you know. And then there's like villains that are like the street gangs or something like that. It's good. They got a 6th season coming out. It's a pretty good show. We actually tonight, guys, have a guys, gals, ghouls, and robots. Who's ever out there? I don't know. Life forms on Mars. Furry community, are you listening? I don't know. I mean, as long as you can turn on the podcast, you can listen, right? We have a preview of this new anime that's coming out called Ocean Black. Podcast listeners, the link to view the preview will be in the podcast notes. Podcast watchers, it'll come up right before we start talking about tonight's movie. So like right about here. And then now you're back and you can see talk about tonight's movie, which is called Kite. Basically, a young orphan is trained to be an assassin. The other characters listed as a mentor, but obviously it's definitely not a copacetic relationship. She's not there under her own free will. But anyway, I'm going to kick it over to Jordan because she's got some savage stats.
The savage stats
movie
coming at you. Kite, 1998 Kite, is controversial in its depiction of extreme, gory violence and explicit sex and nudity, which makes sense since we watched the cut version. I was curious as to where it was going to go with the uncut version. The original Japanese release ran for 2 30-minute episodes. However, the release came out here in the United States as an edited, or they edited the OVA into 1 hour-long movie. So instead of the 2 separate releases, they just did it as
OVA, original video animation. Yes,
I did have
Japan does
that up. Yeah. So and essentially, what is that? They like release it direct to home video, but they would come out with some sort of just like releases to the public, right?
Yeah.
That's
like here's an episode, and then later they're like, oh, we've compiled it into its own standalone movie. Sometimes they add new scenes, new animation, like clean up existing animation. In this case, as you said, they cut out a ton of raunchy scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. A live action adaptation for Kite has been reported to be in various stages of pre-production for a number of years now, with the American film director Rob Cohen attached as either director or producer. The content of the live action film is expected to be toned down from the original OVA. Kite has been banned in China, Norway for the uncut version, and Sweden. The uncensored version is available in Japan and Germany. And then there's a sequel called Kite Liberator. So
yeah, I never saw the sequel.
I would definitely be down to watch it. In my facts that I did in addition to that, it had noted that maybe the ban in Norway had been released in 2018. So I'm curious to see if that still stands true.
Oh, maybe they lifted it. Yeah,
lifted the ban. Yeah,
maybe I'm being stereotypical, but I just think like Sweden would be all over the uncut version based on the way the Swedes roll. I don't know. Like, I didn't know there was a sequel until you just said that, and but I did come across something else. I didn't know that there's a music video by Gwen Stefani, like when she was in what was her band called?
No Doubt.
No Doubt. Yeah, one of the No Doubt videos is the bathroom fight sequence from Kite or whatever. So
interesting.
Yeah,
I'd be down to watch that just to do some like sort of comparison.
There's some diehard anime fans that are all over this thing, and there's like 4. I mean, there's literally 4 versions, but what we would call like maybe a rated R version, maybe hard PG-13 rated R is what's on Crunchyroll, which is basically the American cut version.
Also makes sense about Gwen Stefani just because she has like such an interest in like this kind of culture. So that's kind of interesting comparison.
She's like an anime fan.
Yeah, she likes it. So
you know what time it is now?
Is it for the bits?
During the prime spring season, you need wholesome, convenient meals to energize you for warmer, more active days and keep you on track for reaching your goals. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kits. They can help you fuel up fast with ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, you'll eat well, and you'll tackle everything on that to-do list. You're too busy to cook? With Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store, skip the chopping, the prepping, the cleaning up too. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. So all you need to do is heat and enjoy. Then get back outside and soak up that warmer weather. Looking for calorie-conscious options ahead of summer? Try delicious, dietitian-approved calorie-smart meals with around less than 550 calories per serving. You need that extra boost of energy to support your wellness goals this spring? Try Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. In fact, they offer delicious flavor-packed options on the menu each week, so you can try a variety and fit a variety of lifestyles as well, from keto to calorie smart to vegan plus veggie and protein plus. Prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians, each meal has all the ingredients you need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. With 34 of these chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, there's always something new to try. Plus, you can go ahead and round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 45-plus add-ons, including breakfast items like their delicious apple cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites, and potato, bacon, and egg breakfast skillets. You want to budget the month by cutting back on takeout? Get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in about 2 minutes. With Factor, you can rest assured that you're making a sustainable choice. They offset 100% of the delivery emissions to your door. They source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices and feature sustainable sourced seafood in their meals. Get Factor and enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. Head on over to factormeals.com/binge40 and use code binge40 to get 40% off your first box. That's code binge40 at factormeals.com/binge40 to get 40% off your first box. Again, that's head on over to factormeals.com/binge40. Use code binge40 to get 40% off your first box. That's code binge40 at factormeals.com/binge40 to get 40% off your first box. You're looking at Johnny Spoiler here and you're wondering, this guy doesn't buy exercise equipment. Actually, I do. But there's a couple of hurdles you got to jump over for me to be interested in your exercise work at home system. Right? Here it is. These are the 3 things I got to overcome. in my workout life, if such a thing could exist. Here's what it breaks down to. What's my commitment to the product? How hard is it to install? Because after the wrong installation, it's like you feel like you've already worked out. You're not going to want to work out after a workout, trying to put the thing together. And then the third thing is I'm a cheapskate. I don't want to spend a lot of money to work out. I want to work out cheaply. So now here comes along this brand called Peloton. They're more than just a bike company. They actually make a treadmill and a row or two. You can discover a whole new world of exciting classes that change working out from another dreaded task to something you want to stick with. They also got memorable moves. It's hard to find the motivation to move when you see some of the same boring workouts everywhere. That's why Peloton gamified the workout experience with Lane Break, so now you can pedal to crush levels, and you never have to choose between getting the latest celebrity gossip or a workout with LOL Cody, the cycling class with a late-night talk show twist. You can find your niche. You can move to your own beat in life and in your workouts. You can find what gets you moving with everything from gospel to metal rides, an EDM walk, or a scenic row through San Diego. You can learn from the best, no matter where you're starting out from. Peloton's expert instructors are going to guide you through with contagious energy and supportive instruction at every level to really take the guesswork out of working out. And this is what it also settled for me. They have a 30-day free trial. Yes, I'm in. Commitment free. That was the big thing. Commitment free, right? I said it at the beginning. And then installation. They got people that are going to show up and install it for you. Done, right? I can sit there and watch them work out, and then I can do my workout. Third thing, is it cheap? I actually was on their website. I'm that kind of consumer. I got to go to a website. I got to consume things. I got to know what I'm getting. They actually have refurbished bicycles, which I call refabulous products, right? So you can start that way. Try Peloton, tread, row, or bikes risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only, of course. Not available in some remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. onepeloton.com/home-trial. And for the favorite bits, we're going to tell you favorite moments from this movie. I got a couple, and I'm betting that you're probably going to pick one that I like as well. We'll see.
It's always fun to see like who gets it first. Well, of course I always go first, but like if the bit's going to be said, if I say the one bit, I actually really liked this movie, and it's hard to like not give away what my rating is, but I just liked the relationship between Sawa and then what is her male counterpart's name?
I didn't write down his name. I just wrote down the other dude.
The other dude, right?
Yeah.
Oburi, and I liked their relationship and how they, both been kind of orphaned, and Oburi kind of goes and he like takes care of the kitty cats, and that's like who he's.
Okay, I'm gonna drop a really hard spoiler. So the dude shows up. They kind of have romantic feelings. He's being trained to get rid of her from like the I don't know, competing assassin agency or something in the city or whatever, like
well, and like then she's also like told to kill him, right? Like almost right in the beginning,
because like
he's so
who's
good.
Best, have the best student.
Kind of gave me like some Looper vibes, like how like the Looper always had to like go back and kill themselves, So,
yeah. And like there is some creepy stuff. Like the American cut has like suggestive stuff. Like it's anime, so it's gushy. It's like exploitive. So so you saw a naked person. You see the girl naked, and her character's supposed to be like 16 or 17, and her boss is like 40, right? And they have almost an incestuous relationship because he's definitely a creeper. However, oh wait, are you done with your bits? Can I lead into my bit? Or
lead into the bit.
This is the one I thought you were gonna take. I mean, the villain gets shot in the groin at the end of the movie. So if that's not gratification for like what was happening, and she gets her freedom, like it's kind of like that. It's kind of that story. Like we have to show you that she's a victim, and she overcomes it, and she's a champion at the end, and she shoots the dude in the nuts. She obliterates the guy.
And that's always my favorite kind of girl hero story is like like not even girl hero, right? Because she's an assassin. She like goes out and she actually kills people. They're not great people, but she goes out and kills people, which, you know, you can debate whether she's good for good or good for evil or neither. But for her to like be able to go back against her, like, you could technically say abductor, you know, and like kill him in such a brutal way, I think is like, she's BA for sure. So
It's a hell of a favorite bit.
yeah.
Then, you remember that part where like they're falling down the side of the building and then like they're on a car, then the car smashes a car, then it's like going through the streets, and then it smashes like a train in the subway, and it's just like layer upon layer upon layer. I was like, somebody from the Fast and Furious production team, one of the producers or writers, has had to have seen this anime.
Right.
Because they're doing like, you would say it was Fast and the Furious type car stuff. However, this is before Fast and the Furious. So really, it's like, oh, Fast and Furious is doing Kite Tokyo Drift type car stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, there was a lot of like, not, you know, everybody kind of takes things from other movies. And like, even when Oberty was like running through the train station with, you know, the district attorney, like he was told he had to kill the district attorney and he was on the bus. And so the district attorney was really some sort of like assassin or some sort of guy who knew that he was coming for him. And they're like running through the train and they jump through, Oberty jumps through like the window at the end of the train. And I had just watched like the beginning scene of Underworld the other day. And it's almost like the same thing. They're like doing this full combat scene inside the train station and they're running along the moving train station or the stop train station at this point, and they like jump through the back window. So it's like Underworld, and depending on what time they kind of came out, I'm sure around similar times, we just like had a very similar little scene tidbit in there, but lots of good stuff for sure.
I won't say a rating, but we're at the ratings. We're going to rate the movie. We do binge now, which means you got to watch it now. Binge later, get to it, put it on your list, get to it at some point. It's good. Or binge never, stay away from it, never watch it. You can't get the time back. But I kind of feel like it's simmering pretty popular with old Jordan here. I think
you nailed it. It is a binge now for me. I just think the anime is like, it's beautiful looking. She's an underdog. I love a lady assassin, and she gets her revenge. So it's like all the bits that I need in order to recommend this movie.
Have you seen Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron?
I don't think I have. This gave me very much like Sucker Punch vibes, you know, like which I liked that one, but I'll have to watch.
It's like really good. Like it's up your alley, the type of material we're talking about.
I'll have to watch that.
Listen, like I don't remember this movie being that controversial. Maybe I'm like completely desensitized. I want to respect, people, whatever. I mean, every audience member that sits in that seat brings something different to the movie that they're experiencing, right? Mm-hmm. But from my perspective, like maybe I'd only seen the TV cut or whatever. Like, maybe I haven't seen this unreleased director's whatever Japanese cut or German cut. Mm-hmm. The concept of a teenage girl that goes around like a badass and kills a bunch of bad dudes is a cool idea. You know what I mean? So, right. And the animation is amazing. So, like, whether they said the director of the animators got pervy with a version of the movie, I can't speak to that. All I know is, like, what I saw on Crunchyroll was awesome.
I agree. Like, I don't know if it's just because of how much, like, true crime I watch that makes me desensitized to something that is fictional.
Yeah, because you're watching like Girl in a Bucket on TLC or whatever.
And it's like it's just like horrifying.
We found another girl in the bucket.
Yeah,
our uncle did it.
And this girl like actually gets to get back at people, and then of course, the guy.
There's closure, right? You got closure. Yeah, that's the difference. Like if true crime experiences always had closure, then maybe the outcome would be different, or I don't know. Not that I'm advocating for like biblical revenge, eye for an eye, dog.
Yeah, right.
But clever anime anyway. I wrote down a really naughty thing in my fan reaction section. I wrote Moustache ride reactions. Why did I write that in my podcast notes? So I've been compiling. Everybody knows I've been compiling AI art as a joke and put it on like TikTok, Instagram, whatever. seeing how we are as like Star Wars characters, whatever, or like medieval knights or cowboys, whatever. But the AI started to accentuate just the mustache area on my face. Like images of me that had like the 5 o'clock shadow or the shaggy beard from when we were doing the werewolf episodes. For some reason, it reduced the rest of the beard and just kind of like really made the mustache like we're talking like, you know, yeah, like a soup catcher or something. You know what I mean? Or like Pedro Pascal, like really. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, I look like. Yeah, so the images put together, I was like, oh, I look like Pedro Pascal's overweight cousin Tito Pascal. You know what I mean? But not as
very
successful.
Suggestive.
Yeah, like I'm in a Doritos commercial. I'm in a Mexican soda commercial. He's in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, but still, right. But I'm like, but then I was like, but as we know, AI is simply compiling data from across. I'm like, so really, statistically, what you're really saying is you want Johnny Spoiler to have a mustache.
That's what I'm saying. Is they always make me a big-chested girl, and for those who can't see me, I am a tiny person. I'm a little person. I'm a little lady, and I don't have big jugs. But that's what AI wants me to have. So,
but the AI is like, hey, Jordan, we analyzed you, and if we could put together the perfect Jordan,
yeah, new Bob coming up. Cool. Thank you, AI. Yeah.
Call Frank. Frank, if you don't know, is our cat, her cat, and he works in HR for the show. Yeah. If you have any problems, try to email him. I don't know if he'll get your email. He's a busy cat. He's like a celebrity cat.
Yeah.
So he's got his own stuff to do. But you put something out there like, hey, the AI is suggesting that I need to grow a mustache. Like it wants me to be a daddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, grow a mustache, daddy. So then after that, then you get the comments. And the comments are like, yeah, do it. And you're like, wait a minute here. Something's happening. You know, this is like an IRL situation in real life. Like the you know, and it's always your middle-aged male fans, you know?
Oh, it like, always is. Yeah.
They're like, do it, daddy. I'm like, fucking A. Like, here we go. Whatever pays the bills. Whatever so pays funny. The bills. OnlyFans coming next week, folks. Sub for that mustache. Give us 5 stars. Why not? That was just a 5-star. That thing was dripping wet for like 5 minutes. You guys owe us like a 5-star rating. Jordan's really laughing. That's a real laugh. Okay.
I liked it.
Let's see. If we watch something else, what could we recommend? Oh, you know what? Our staff pick talking about the anime thing. We did get a preview of the pilot episode of Ocean Black. So we can actually show you guys. Well, podcast watchers, again, you'll get to see the interview. Podcast listeners, it'll be dropped in right here. This is a Q&A with the creator of Ocean Black.
When you win, our people win. And sometimes that is the only way I know whether we're doing the right thing. The only way I know we are not murderers. I'm not going to kill him. I was sent here to learn war by my grandfather.
There is one command in war. Obey! There is only one crime in war. Defeat! Do you acknowledge your role as a student? Tengoku Temeo?
Get us out of here!
Everyone, fall back!
So, guys, you just saw this amazing, awesome preview for an upcoming anime called Ocean Black. We're sitting down with the creator, EJ, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about this amazing show that's coming up. EJ, what's up, man?
Hello, thank you for having me. You're too kind.
Oh yeah, no, it was really exciting. Big fan of anime for many years, and it's one of our niche, genres on the show. So we can't get enough of it, basically. So when this opportunity fell into our laps, we're like, yeah, of course, let's get as many videos from EJ as we can. Like at first I was like, oh, he's not gonna give us the whole pilot to chew on, but yeah, thankfully you did, and that was pretty exciting. I'll just jump right in, man. How did you get like the mid grounds so rich? Because usually in anime, either they're exaggerating one of two things, like they're spending the money on the character design in the foreground, or they're having like a graphic artist spend so much time visualizing and rendering like the backgrounds, right? But in your preview that we saw for your pilot, it was like somehow you had this very rich detail in the midground, and we're using kind of like midground storytelling, which I don't think I've ever like necessarily quite seen that. So I don't know if you built it on an animation studio engine or, well, I mean, I'll just let you answer. I won't just keep rambling on.
I super appreciate the feedback. I love that, you're getting technical with me. Just to be clear, I am not doing the actual animation myself.
Yeah.
Dita Charisma and his team in Indonesia, a lot of the work that they're doing to support the project is on the animation side. The tools, to your comment, that we're using, the Toon Boom studio suite, a lot of major studios use this. Rick and Morty, I believe, use this. Harmony and Storyboard Pro, right? And without getting super technical, right? Obviously, high detail backgrounds, right? We had to have them. You see kind of the style that we went in. That's pretty clear to see. But in terms of the effects and in terms of that blending, that feeling of, I'm not just looking at two layers. I'm looking at like a seamless sort of a set of images illustrations working together, right? That's a lot of effects work, I would think, partially at least in post. And one of the things I've emphasized over and over again to that team is, if you have that realistic feeling of depth and of lighting, that the way the torch is playing in a particular area and these different types of things, just like little bits of lighting in places that it gives it depth and emotion, people will feel pulled in. And I think that helps a lot accentuate the tones from, like you said, all the way to the foreground, all the way to the background. So you really feel like you have depth and you don't just have either A or B, right?
Awesome. Did you ever consider opening the pilot with like the Earth's destruction and kind of reference this thing in classic anime was always like, if you're familiar with like Neo Tokyo, right? Like they always showed the destruction of the world and then they rebuild like a futuristic city in Tokyo.
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the first thing you see is like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
The Earth just
we totally got a thousands of years ago opening. What you probably saw, what your team probably saw the whole pilot of, right? Whatever it was that I sent, 10 or 11 minutes. That material basically represents us literally, again, in the teams that we've worked with and everyone, going from walking to running, well, in that case, galloping on horseback all the way through, battles and sword fights and everything. Those first scenes were our very first scenes we animated. And those were challenging. And then we had to get even to more challenging material. So the scenes that we picked, if I'm being completely honest, right, we strategically did a so-called pilot, sort of pulled from scenes we feel like were representative of the middle of the show. Mm-hmm. We have an actual episode 1 planned that is what you're talking about,
killer,
right?
Yeah.
Like, in 3 minutes or less.
Like, I'm all for like the great writing that you've done and like the planning that you probably have in place on like your show Bible and everything. But I'm just like, I'll just give me to the action. The drama's great, but it's like, I'm like geeking out on the sci-fi elements and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I want that like heartbeat racing, opener or whatever. But where did the idea for the main character come from?
The main character is included in a book that I wrote, The Noble Exiles, and that's available for purchase. And you can go on my website and look at that, oceanblack.com. One of the characters that's referenced is Temeo. And she is, if we're thinking about like the timeline of the universe and everything that's going on and all the different characters and stuff that we want to introduce to people, it's hard and it can become overwhelming when I have this big sci-fi fantasy universe I'm crafting over here and you want to bring that to television and to anime and you want to have a starting point. Where is the starting point? What's logical? Let's start with one character who's at the center of it all. So that's Temeo and her dynasty, her actions. I'm telling a very long story short, right? Her centrality to the story sets up this whole dynasty and all these other stories and characters and people that happen. But she's the origin point. Her growing up on Earth and then going to other planets is like such a seminal event in all of the events that happen in this Ocean Black universe that we have in the books. We thought, well, let's bring that forward as a TV show. Let's make
that kind of bridges what you just said. Kind of bridges into my next question, because I was like, are we going to get like a more mystical struggle with the colonists or whatever or the refugees that are still left on Earth, or are we going to go like full alien invasion, and then the humans that left, are they going to come back and they're going to really stir things up? And that's kind of my imagination running wild. And granted, like probably there's some stuff you want to keep under wraps. So as the stories develop, well, again, you said there's books out there, so maybe the readers already know where I'm going with the show. But I'm a visual guy, so I want to consume it as an anime, right? So you had me going. I was like, are we going to get aliens? Like, are we going to get other colonies? Like, what,
I'll tell you, the sky's the limit. I don't want to give everything away, obviously, but certainly you're keying on one of those things, right? Is we're not going to stay on Earth. We're going to go and we're going to do other things. The exiles, well, where did they go, right? Well, we're going to...
Like, are they really prospering, or they got to come back and take what's left of the resources from the people that remain? Like...
do with all that stuff that they took.
Yeah.
What are they up to, right? And that's going to be a huge thing where she interacts with those other societies. They react to her. And one of the things we're very excited to do that I'm seeing more and more as other people want to bring other types of storytelling forward is one of the things we want to do, flip it on its head a little bit, this Western woman in an Eastern context, but we want to see Temeo, a nomadic woman, a so-called Eastern woman in a Western context, right? And see what happens. And I think it's going to be a very exciting story, and we really we can't get there fast enough.
Well, you had me hooked with the armored bear that makes an appearance.
Yeah.
so I'm on board. If you just get 10,000 of me or 100,000 of me, tickets are sold, man. Do you mind sharing a few animes that inspired you as well?
Sure. I mean, obviously my kind of anchor point for wanting to do something, and something that was positive and something that could appeal to as many audiences as I reasonably could. Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra, both of those were life-changing for me when I first saw them. And again, during the pandemic, it was just, I don't know what it is. It was just the right time for those to come back around again. They had a huge popularity swing, if you can remember. And it's so much so that they've had all these projects suddenly become fired up, and now they're planning all this stuff that they're going to release in 2025, I think. I've been following that. I'm just so excited to see more of that. I would say another one, kind of more of the classic anime style, though. They did a turn on Adult Swim as well, but they were very popular in Japan. Samurai Champloo. I just loved that show. I loved the genre blending. That's kind of like another, if I go to your earlier comment, series Bible, and look at one of the comments that I'm making over and over again in that document, is genre blending, right? What genres are we willing to take and put together? And with Samurai Champloo, right, it was like, hey, let's take, some of the modern edginess and hip hop and mix that with 16th century Japan and see what we get, right? And they got some amazing storytelling and fascinating characters, and I cried at the end of that show because I didn't want the journey to end, and just as a couple of examples.
So you want to blend both. You want to measure the drama with the sci-fi suspense and the action of the storytelling, but you want to have that heartbeat at the center with your characters. What
absolutely
I'm getting, yeah.
Absolutely. Got to have a character-driven story. Love the setting of Star Wars. I'm such a Star Wars nerd.
So what do you want the listeners and the viewers to really take home? Like, how can they support our audience, support Ocean Black?
Well, I mean, right now it's about getting the word out, right? We are actively soliciting and being courted by people who want to join the team as executive producers and investors, and we're just in the process now of people discovering us, and we want to tell people that, hey, tell others about us, but if you're a professional in the industry, tell your professional friends as well, because we're just in the process of starting to make those connections, and people are waking up and being like, wow, look at this thing. And I think we've got some opportunity and some runway ahead of us, and what we've shown so far is just little bit of what we're capable of, right? Is doing it all. Everyone's doing it as a second job. Well, we all got other things going on because this is still indie and self-funded, and to some degree, and we're ready to break out.
Nice. So I'll drop links in the podcast notes for the preview for the audience to see of your trailer, and then also I'll link back to your website or your Instagram, whatever you want me to throw in there. I'll drop.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you for introducing us to the world of Ocean Black. Honestly, I wish I had discovered the books. Now I'm going to go take a look at them, and then I'll be emailing you in the middle of the night. Hey, in book 2, and so you're like, oh, come on, man.
I've written the next 2 books already. I'm holding them right now.
Wow.
But we're in the process of editing those so that we can release them. And it's a huge project that's in the works right now. We're not stopping on that front either. So I know I talk about the TV show a lot, but one of these other supporting things that's happening is that too. And I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's got a good heartbeat. It sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders for like running it, and it looks like it's going in a good direction. I recommend everybody go out there, look at the books, go to their Instagram, check out the trailer that we have for you, and support the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, EJ, thanks for stopping by. And then we're back to the podcast episode already in progress with Jordan Savage and Johnny Spoiler. Thanks to EJ from Ocean Black talking about his awesome show. And there'll be links in the notes there, like I said, for you guys to grab, their Instagram and how you can support the show and everything. Now, other staff picks. If we watched movies outside of the movie of the week, Jordan's already mentioned true crime, murder, death happens, murder.
Yes.
I watched. Did you watch any other murders this week? Or
I watched something very well. It was sad, but it was a good sad story, and it's I think one of the top 10 on Netflix right now. It's a movie, and I think it's called A Man Named Otto with Tom Hanks in it.
Oh yeah, isn't he like the angriest dude in the world or something? Like he doesn't like people or something.
Yes, I mean he obviously has some like tragic things that happen to him. And he becomes a cold and bitter man, but slowly, like he gets kind of, he is trying to essentially end his life to be with his wife who passed away 6 months prior. And he keeps being interrupted by his neighbors who are like wonderful people, and they just like refuse to let him grumpy and old. And so he's like, every time he gets interrupted, it's like to go help them. And he ends up starting to build a relationship back with his community in his neighborhood, and he gets a little kitty cat, and it's just the sweetest thing. Another cat, like we've had 2 weeks in a row of cats, and this is the second thing with some kitty cats in it for the night, and cats are just great. So great, adorable movie. And then I wanted to stick on a little bit of an anime train and watch some really popular animes that I've never gotten around to. So I'm almost done with Spirited Away. I only have like 5 minutes left.
Oh, that's cool. I love that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Very beautiful.
Maybe I'll rewatch it so they can ask you questions about it.
I just love how like creative all of the spirits look like. And
you got to get on from the same, I think it's the same studio, I think it's Miyazaki, right? I think. People don't kill me don't rip me apart limb from limb. Anime fans are hardcore. If you screw up like talking about their anime, they come after you.
I believe it.
Is Ponyo, which is kind of like, I mean, people say Little Mermaid, but not really, because there's no princess, and it's like modern. There's a little kid with a tugboat, and his town is flooding, so he's gonna drive the boat to where his mom works at, like an old folks' home, to go pick her up in their family fishing boat or whatever, and then he meets a girl that can turn into a fish, and like her dad is the king of the ocean or whatever. But it's called Ponyo. It's awesome. That's worth watching.
I'll have to watch it for sure. Yeah. I'll definitely knock a couple more of those out maybe this month. So,
and then I did see that Renfield where, dude, Nick Cage is like one of the best Draculas ever, and I saw him on a ranker list. I was like, is it possible that he could be ranked within like the top 3? Then I saw the movie. And they actually, during the credits, had him photographed looking like Bela Lugosi from the 1930s Universal Dracula movie. And he freaking nailed it. Not just like an homage, but like his Dracula isn't just like a bunch of throwaway jokes for 80 minutes. Like his Dracula is actually kind of scary. Like you actually think he could do some damage. Wow. You know what I mean? And like you actually feel bad for the Renfield at one point because you feel like, oh, he could get really hurt. Like in modern movies, it's really hard to like get in there, like really invested in a movie and think the characters could get hurt. But at one point in this movie, I was like, oh, that sucks. He can get hurt. I'm like, why am I thinking that? Oh, because he's such a good Dracula.
Wow. Yeah, I was watching some good Fandango interviews about it. And it really had me hooked. So I'll have to watch it.
I feel like
pretty
what
good.
Nick Cage did, like, I'd have to ask him. I mean, it would be great to ask him this one single question. Like, did you turn off the filter in your brain between, like, holding back from doing terrible things and, like, just imagining what that next step is past that threshold?
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like, we
Yeah,
all have a mental barrier. We all hold ourselves back, right? Like, we cross
Right.
this line, we can't come back from it. Like your true crime. Like, hey, I need to jump this counter and kill the sandwich maker. You know what I mean?
Right.
But not. But like, we
Right.
all have this thing that I don't know what is it. I don't know. It's a mechanism or something. So like, I want to ask him, like, did you just pause that mechanism to be that scary, or like, what was it? Like, what is his thought process on that one character or whatever, right?
I can't
Because it's a
believe.
lot
I
different
can't.
from his other vampire character that we did. Like, he's a lot different from vampires, like a totally different shades than in Vampire's Kiss.
Right.
You know, so
Which is so funny. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. He said that he modeled the personality of him off of two people, and one
Really?
of them was his father, which I found really interesting.
whoa, that's
And
spooky.
so,
That's
yeah.
really spooky. Then
Yeah,
Wow.
it was interesting. And now I'm like regretting not remembering who the second
the second guy.
person
yeah.
was. But
I want to look that up now. So we'll come back with that next week, people. We'll tell you who Dracula is based on. And I saw the new Dungeons and Dragons with Chris Pine,
was that? Oh, you were
which we mentioned on the
Pine?
last episode.
Pine.
Pining for Pine. I figured out. I think his fans are called Pine Nuts, which makes sense.
Pine Nuts. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
To clarify that continuity from last week, and it's not bad. It's not just jokes. There's one moment that got me a little choked up, so that's impressive to do in like a little throwaway hacker slasher, romp or
Yeah.
whatever. But the jokes are funny. They're about a joke a minute, like a sitcom. So if that's your thing, watch the new D&D. They're on demand as well. Next week we have another semi-controversial anime. I feel like all anime gets quickly labeled controversial. I don't know. Again, has another female protagonist. Her name is Lemnir. It's called The Legend of Lemnir. It's another classic anime. I think it's either 80s. It's either mid to late 80s or early 90s. It's got that hand-drawn on-film feeling. And she's in a harem. She gets stuck in a harem and has to fight her way out and then fight the emperor and all this other stuff. So what can you say?
Yeah.
Horned up animes. I don't know. Like, yeah. It has something to do with it actually literally has something to do with the psychology of Japanese people, or specifically Japanese men working office hours drawing cartoons. You know what I mean? There's a psychology here that actually, you could have a whole podcast about the psychology of anime. We're not going to do that because that's not us. However, if you come back next week, we'll be talking about Legend of Lemnir. Also, like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can make a comment. If you're just listening, make sure you go through the back catalog. Well, actually, no. If you're watching, go through the back catalog, because not every episode is available on YouTube, but we have many episodes available as audio. So anyway, that's the Binge-Watchers Podcast for this week. Jordan Savage, Johnny Spoiler. Send your complaints to Frank. Otherwise, we don't care. We'll be back next week with another awesome show. Peace! Oh, I should play this other song. To call her out, but she was dancing during the outro song.
I was just thinking of how we played the intro and the outro this time. Dang, we
nailed it tonight. We're on our game. What can you say? Oh, man.